Good evening and welcome to our very first webinar on BCSC Alumni TV, tackling the college entrance exams, SAT and the ACT. Today we're using this opportunity to just check in where we are in the process. Why do we need to take these tests? We'll give you some important information about the SAT and ACT, and then we'll talk about next steps. Where do we go from here? And then we'll go into what you need to do to begin planning and preparing for those exams. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to put your question in the comment box. All questions will be answered after the presentation. So, to check in, where are we now? Both you, the scholar, and your parent should be talking and discussing about where we are in the college admissions process as a whole. But here are some specific questions you should be asking your child or scholar you should be discussing with your parents. Have you signed up for the May 2nd exam for the SATs? Have you signed up for the June 6th SATs? And what this generally should be done with your guidance counselor. However, if you have not heard anything about the May 2nd or June 6th SATs, you should be speaking with your guidance counselor as soon as possible. If you plan to take the ACTs, you want to find out, have you been signed up for the April 18th ACT? Or have you signed up for the June 13th ACT? Again, if you don't know the answers to these questions, now's the time to meet with your guidance counselor. What are your concerns and fears about taking the SAT or ACT? And how are you preparing for the SAT or ACT, or both? Some of you may be choosing to take both exams. So once you've answered some of those basic questions, let's talk about why the SAT and the ACT are important. Despite what some testing critics have said, and right now the standardized testing has come under a lot of fire. Some people are against it, some people are opposed to, are for it. However, either way, these tests are important. According to a 2010 survey by the National Association of College Admission Counseling, admissions officers rank these test scores as the third most important factor, right behind grades in college prep courses. So regardless, we know that standardized testing can be very stressful and cause a lot of anxiety. However, it is a necessary part of the process. Another hidden benefit of taking these tests and also scoring really high is that it increases your chances for getting scholarships. Once you've taken the test, you're now part of a national registry where scholarships become available to you based on merit and also based on need. Also, university-specific scholarships will use this registry to find applicants for these scholarships and offer money based on your SAT and ACT scores. Lastly, depending on the school you choose to attend, the right score can result in $100,000 or more in future earnings. We all know the correlation between going to one of the top universities to building your career and also the correlation to your future income. So what are the average SAT and ACT scores at some of the top colleges and universities? Here we just have a couple of universities and colleges across the nation. Some that I will mention is you have Colgate University, where the average SAT math score is in a range of 640 to 720, and the average SAT verbal is in a range of 630 to 730. Your ACT range, the composite score ranges in a 30 to 32. Some of the Ivy Leagues, Harvard College, SAT math in the range of 710 to 790, SAT verbal 700 to 800, and your ACT composite 32 to 35. Again, another Ivy League, you have Johns Hopkins, 670 to 770, 640 to 740 for your math and SAT math and verbal, and then your composite ACT score, 30 to a 34. If we look at some of the non-Ivy League schools, like a state university at Albany, you have a SAT math score ranging in 520 to a 610, and an SAT verbal score of 490 to a 580, with an ACT composite score of a 22 to a 26. So as you can see just from this table alone, that your scores on these exams really impact the the decision-making process as to which colleges you can actually compete and get into. So what do you know about the SATs? Here we have a breakdown of the time, the format of the test, and then, as you can see, a wrong answer penalty. So the total time for the SAT is 4 hours. That is usually broken down by three hours and 45 minutes of testing time, and then 3 5-minute breaks. And your proctor will determine how that time is broken up. There are 3 sections with a total score of 2,400. This 2,400 total score is only in effect until January 2016, where then the new SAT will be coming out, and it's going back to a 1,600 total score. However, those of you who are in your junior year and will be applying to school, the class of 2016, you will be taking the last round of the 2,400 SAT. So there are 3 sections. You have your critical reading, which ranges in the 200 to 800 score range. And the critical reading includes sentence completion and reading comprehension. In mathematics, it is multiple choice combined with a student-produced response. And that also ranges from a 200 as the lowest score to an 800 as the highest score. Your writing is also multiple choice and a written essay. The writing score is a composite of the student's grammar and essay sub-scores, and that also ranges from 200 to 800. Now, the current SAT that you will be taking, there is a wrong answer penalty. You lose a quarter of a point for every incorrect multiple choice answer. So what you want to do is to make an educated guess or leave it blank, but never make any blind guesses. Meaning, if you're running out of time, do not just bubble in any answer, because you're taking the risk of losing a quarter of a point for every incorrect multiple choice answer. So what do you know about the ACT? The ACT format is different from the SAT format. The total time for the ACT ranges, it can either be from 3 to 4 hours. If you're taking the ACT without writing, the test total time is 2 hours and 55 minutes. If you're taking the ACT with the writing section, then the total time is 3 hours and 25 minutes. For the SAT, for the ACT, there are 4 section scores, and your composite score is the average of your sub-scores. So each section is scored based on a scale of 1 to 36. So within the English multiple choice section, there are 75 questions that you have to complete in 45 minutes with 4 answer choices. Now, this is important because if you can eliminate 2 choices, you have a 50-50 chance of getting the question correct. So in this case, there's no wrong answer penalty, and you don't want to leave any questions blank. You still want to make educated guesses, but you don't lose a point for any incorrect answers. In the English multiple choice section, they're looking for grammar and usage, punctuation, sentence structure, organization, and writing style. The next section is the mathematics multiple choice. Again, the scale is from 1 to 36. You have 60 questions in 60 minutes with 5 answer choices. This section covers pre-algebra, algebra, geometry, and trigonometry. So basically, these are your first 3 years in high school of the different levels of math that you should take in order to be prepared for these college entrance exams. Your reading multiple choice is on a scale of 1 to 36. There are 40 questions in 35 minutes, and again, 4 answer choices. In this section, they're looking for reading comprehension, inference, and reasoning skills. Now, what's different about the ACT is that there's a content subject section, which is science. And it's a science multiple choice section where there's 40 questions in 35 minutes with 4 answer choices. In this section, they're not focusing on content. However, they're looking at data interpretation, analysis, evaluation, reasoning, and problem solving. Now, the writing section, it is optional. However, although it's optional, we would encourage you to take the writing section because for number one, it does not affect your composite score. It is 1 essay in 30 minutes with a writing prompt. So pretty much it's not going to affect your composite score and affect the score that you get from the other subsections. However, this is a good way to demonstrate your writing skills to colleges and universities, to the admissions committee. So the way the writing section is scored is that there's a combined English writing score on a scale of 1 to 36. The sub-score is on a scale of 2 to 12, plus comments on your essay. You can also choose whether you want to send this score to those colleges and universities. Again, I would like to emphasize lastly about the ACT that there's no wrong answer penalty, so do not leave any questions blank. Next, we'll move on to the test dates and registration deadlines. Time is of the essence, and it's important that you need to register early. So for the SAT, you can go to sat.collegeboard.org. The test dates that registration is open for the May 2nd and June 6th test dates. For the May 2nd, you need to register before April 6th, and for June 6th, you need to register before May 8th. The cost for this test is $52.50. However, you want to make sure you register in time because this fee does not include any late registration or test date changes, which have additional charges for. For the ACT, you can go to actstudent.org. Those test dates, you can register for those test dates. They're all open. So June 13th, September 12th, October 24th, and December 12th, with their corresponding registration dates. Now, the ACT no writing is $38. The ACT plus writing is $54.50. Again, you want to make sure you meet these registration deadlines because there are additional fees for late registration and any test date changes or test site changes. So you want to make sure that you meet these deadlines. Now, if you plan to take both tests, it would make sense to, if you're taking the May 2nd, you may want to take the June 13th. If you're taking the June 6th, you may want to take the September 12th test dates so that you're not kind of, overbooking yourself in regards to taking the tests. So how do you pay for the test? There are fee waivers available. Check with your guidance counselor for both SAT and ACT fee waivers. Now, both of the testing companies do require that you meet some basic guidelines and basic requirements. You must be enrolled in high school in the 11th or 12th grade. Also, you must be testing in the United States, U.S. territories, or Puerto Rico. However, and lastly, you must meet an economic need. So there are indicators for the economic need listed on the fee waiver form. Those guidelines follow your free lunch, free and reduced lunch program, so the National School Lunch Program. So I want to emphasize that you submit your lunch forms at the beginning of the school year, so that way you're able to get those fee waivers. Guidance counselors receive a limited number of fee waivers based on the number of fee waivers they give out in previous years. So most guidance counselors will will look for your lunch form to make sure that you qualify for the fee waiver. In regards to the SAT, in addition to meeting the income eligibility guidelines, if the family receives any kind of public assistance or lives in any subsidized housing, or if the student is a ward of the state or an orphan, you are eligible for a fee waiver. With the SAT, you can get a maximum of 2 fee waivers for the SAT and then 2 fee waivers for the SAT subject test. Now, we haven't discussed the subject test, but that is something that some of you may want to consider, which shows that you have mastery in specific subjects. And we can talk more about that if you have any questions about that. So with the SATs, you can get a maximum of 4 fee waivers. With the ACT, you get a maximum of 2 fee waivers. So you can take the test twice if you would like. Testing accommodations. I cannot stress enough how you must apply early if you require any testing accommodations. So with the SAT, the process is you have to submit documentation and it must be approved by the College Board before you even register to take the test. So you want to go to sat.collegeboard.org website to find out which documents you need to submit in order to get approved. Now that deadline is April 7th, and you must get that in to the College Board, all the documentation to the College Board by April 7th if you want to take the June test. The deadline for the May test has already passed. So those of you who require testing accommodations and you want to take the SAT, I would suggest that you take the June test and submit your documentation now. Work with your guidance counselor to collect all those forms and the proper documentation. Your IEP does not automatically guarantee approval by the College Board. So don't just send your IEP and think that you're going to get the accommodations that you need. It can be denied. You have to get the approval before registering for the test. And once you're approved, the College Board will give you an SSD number, and that's the number that you will use for registration. In regards to the ACT, if you get accommodations in school now because you have an IEP, you will more than likely get the accommodations for the ACT. You can get accommodations with the National Standard Time, or you can get extended time for the test. And then the other option is special testing at your school. And that way you get alternate formats if you need questions read, etc. And so again, you want to work with your guidance counselor to get those documentations sent into ACT and get it approved before registering for the test. Okay, so let's talk about preparation. If you have not started preparing, now is the time to begin. So we want you to really take the time and put in focused time and energy. So, preparing here and there, a couple of hours, not on an inconsistent basis is not going to help you. So you want to begin a minimum of 2 months in advance, but also keep in mind that there are plenty of other students who've been preparing a lot longer and you're competing with them. So you want to begin as soon as possible, but a minimum of 2 months in advance. We also suggest that you have at least a minimum of 5 hours per week, 2 hours with a professional, and 3 hours of independent study. Now, your 2 hours with a professional can be a private tutor, it can be an SAT prep class, but you do want someone who's going to take you through that process in a professional setting. And then 3 hours of independent study. That can look, very different for a lot of people. Again, though, you want to schedule that into your time. Like you want to put that in your schedule that you are studying for the SAT, whether it's 1 hour, 3 days a week, or however you do it. But you want a quiet place. Make sure you have a timer, create flashcards, do lots of drills, and practice questions. Make sure you have test prep books from Kaplan, Princeton Review. You can get them directly from the College Board. You can also go to the ACT website and find test prep materials. Resources, I highly recommend these websites as a starting point for your preparation. You can go to collegeboard.org, act.org. They have study guides online. Also, they have practice questions online that you can take on a daily basis. Khan's Academy is also offering free test prep for the SATs. So you can go to their website and sign up, and you can log in, and it will give you sample questions and also timed tests. Now, Higher Scores TestPrep.com and Wilson Daily Prep are two for-fee test prep companies. However, they offer a newsletter that I found very helpful, where I get a weekly newsletter with the the SAT word of the day, the SAT question of the day. They highlight colleges and universities, and also let you know what the average SAT and ACT scores are at that college and university. In addition, they also kind of give you alerts as to when you should be registering for the next test. So these 5 websites are a really good starting point for you to begin your plan for preparation. So at BCSC, we are offering an SAT boot camp, and we need to know your availability. So it would be helpful if you went to this website at surveymonkey.com /SAT Bootcamp BCSE, and this bootcamp will help you prepare for the June test date. Okay, so go ahead and do that as soon as possible so that we're able to lock in the days and the times for this bootcamp. So how can we help? We will be scheduling one-on-one meetings to follow up after this webinar, and we will contact you to either have a phone conversation, or if you would like to meet with us in person, you're welcome to do so. And we will talk about what your plans are for the preparation for these exams, and also what your college plans are, because again, how you do on these exams will determine which schools are options for you in the college admissions process. And we will also follow up with additional workshops to talk about the college admissions process. So this is where kind of our presentation ends, and we will follow up with one-on-one meetings. And if there are any questions, feel free to put them in the comment box, and we will return those. We will answer those questions directly on the site, and then also reach out to you to help you with this process. Also, feel free to contact Ms. Rivera at BCSC. You can reach her at krivera@bronxexcellence.org or 718-892-1276. Thank you.